So when I say that to you guys, what do you guys think? Put it on the MLS, post a Facebook post. Would you say that's common in our market for agents, or is that uncommon? Are people doing other things?
I think that's very common.
I thought it was pretty common. Very common, and you know, it's interesting when you guys say bold will be here the end of September. There's actually a script we teach for our agents to go into a listing and say, you know, most agents do the 3 P's of real estate. They put the property on the MLS, they put a sign in the yard, and they pray that it sells.
Yeah.
I do the 4th P. Do you guys know the script? I do the 4th P. I get up every single day and I proactively prospect for buyers for my sellers' properties. That's the script we teach. But the reality is it wouldn't exist if those 3 P's didn't exist, which is put it on the MLS, put a sign in the yard, and pray that it sells. That is not an effective marketing strategy. Because here's the reality, you guys. The reality is for every listing you take, you should be closing 1 to 3 additional pieces of business. We talk a lot about listing to last. We talk about leads, listings, leverage. And when you take a listing, yes, do you guys all want to get paid when you list a property? Me too. Yet if all you're going after is 1 commission check, you're working from a very short-sighted place. We got to think about, how do I turn this 1 listing into 3 more pieces of business? So when you take a listing, if the commission's going to be $10,000, your brain should automatically say, this is a $40,000 opportunity. But the question is, what are we going to do to market the listing in a way that we capture leads and we generate additional pieces of business from that activity that allows us to fill our pipeline? Make sense? So when I see agents put properties on the market and they say, oh my gosh, it sold in 3 hours, I'm like, cool, you made a check. We could have made 3. Not that I know what they're doing, but the reality is very few are taking that opportunity and turning it into more. This is not unlike open houses. I shared this when I presented this. Do you guys know that less than 1% of open house listings sell at open house? So why do we do open houses?
Well, to get buyer.
You're doing the open house to create an event that gives you 6 or 7 or 10 different activities you can do around it to ideally pick up a bunch of additional buyers. It's the same thing with your listing, but on a larger scale. So when we go down through the marketing plan for listings, there should be 2 things happening in your mind. One is, what is my value proposition to the seller? Back to my story, the seller wanted to know what she was going to do to sell the house. We didn't have a marketing plan. But the flip side of that is, as a business owner, what is your marketing strategy generate opportunity for you? And those 2 things go hand in hand. Okay, so this, by the way, is on page 151 of the MREA. This is right out of the book. This is our playbook, so we're going to run this play. This works in every market, seller markets, buyer markets. So if I'm you and I don't have a marketing strategy, you can absolutely just make a copy of this and put it in your listing presentation. Like, this is the basic plan. We have agents that do more than this, but this should be the minimum standard for you when you take a listing. This is the minimum standard, right? So let's go through it, and then you guys, we've got 35 minutes. I want you guys to talk to me a little bit, and let's talk about these 14 steps and questions you have, or even if you have limiting beliefs around effectiveness or whatever else. I think we can work through it and figure out if they're going to work for you. So I want you to envision you walk in to meet a seller and you say, this is my marketing strategy. Okay, so the first one is staging and pricing strategies. Part of my value proposition is I offer staging and pricing strategies. Do you guys feel that that would be effective? Would a seller appreciate that? Absolutely. What would be an example of a staging strategy?
I've had people cut, in the video, they cut certain pieces of the furniture out.
Yeah. Do we all walk around the property and get it ready for photos? And we say, hey, actually, like what I used to say is, you obviously live here, they live there. It can't look like a model home, but I want you to research homes around you that got a really good price. And we need to strategize how we can make yours look like that in the photos, which means anything you're not using right now, between now and when we sell this house, because we are gonna sell it, we're gonna go ahead and package up and box up and start stacking in your garage. The other thing I always told sellers was, we walk in the kitchen and there'd be all that stuff on the counters. And I would say, here's the thing. You've got a toaster on your counter. And usually they had a toaster and a blender and a microwave and 14 boxes of something. And I would say, even though a buyer knows that your toaster is leaving and theirs is coming in, when they see all of that, they can't figure out where their toaster is gonna sit. So I would tell them, any appliances, anything sitting out that you're not using, we wanna tuck away in a cabinet. So that's an example of me as an agent walking through a property and helping them get it ready to go live on the market. Got a clean carpet, you need to have it stretched, we might wanna touch up paint over here, whatever that is.
If you notice that curtain rods are broken, tell them that.
Yeah, anything, I mean. It could be as much as we've got to completely renovate this section of the house to, we need to touch up spackle holes. Like, it's your visual eye on what is best practice for them to get that property ready to market and get top dollar. We all should be doing that, but are we telling them that that's part of our value proposition? Probably not. The second part of this one is pricing strategies. How would you guys, what are some things we do in a listing that would be a pricing strategy? You're gonna do a CMA. When I used to do my CMAs, so I'm a little bit old school, I use a one-line CMA. So I go in, I search everything in the area, actives, pendings, and solds. It's just a list of properties with beds and baths and square footage. And I would literally say, this is a script. I would say, okay, so we want to price this strategically to get you top dollar. What we're looking for is what's actively on the market, so what's your competition? And we want to price as high as we can so that we're competitive with the active inventory. However, we've got to land our closing price, what we sell it for, it's got to appraise. So we need to look down at what's actually sold and what price they got. And so we want to price it competitively, getting the top dollar at closing. So it's whatever your pricing strategy is. Like, for example, if I were going to list a house in a neighborhood and the seller said, I want $200,000 and there's 3 on the market at 175. I'm going to say, you could absolutely list it for 200. And what I'm going to tell you is, buyers are going to come in and look for the best price with the best square footage and value. So if we have 3 on the market at 175, you're 200, they're going to automatically probably go to the 175 first. That makes sense? So you're just going to talk strategy to get the most activity to get it sold. Are you guys all doing that at some level? That's a value proposition. This is what I do. I'm really good at it. Part of my value proposition is what you're paying me to do. Okay, that's number 1. Are those number 1 effective in this market? Could we do this today if we went out to take a listing? Effective. I think so too. Number 2, for sale sign, rider signs, and directional signs. Now, how many agents put for sale signs in the yard?
Pretty much all of them.
All of them. How many put directional signs from main roads so that people can find the for sale sign in the yard? And I'm not talking about open house. I'm talking about, I just listed a property. Can I direct people that there's a house for sale in the back of this neighborhood from the main road? How many?
I've seen very few.
Me too. How much does a directional sign cost? $5? $5. corrugated directional sign. So if I sit down with the seller, I'm going to say, most agents will throw a sign in the yard, but actually something I do differently. I'm gonna go ahead and put 5 to 10 directionals out at all of the main intersections to make sure that traffic knows that this exists back here. That's part of my value proposition.
I actually had. I had one, Justine, here in the office. She had one in our neighborhood, directional signs, all the way
That's
back
a
in the neighborhood.
That's a seller value proposition. It's gonna cost you $50 to go get you 10 directional signs that you can use them over and over.
She actually did really nice ones that have her name and her picture. And then it just says house for sale and it has an arrow.
I just bought some on Amazon for $25. It's like 10 directional signs. I mean, they're not, you can go to Lowe's and pick them up, right? All right, is that effective? Would that be a value add to the seller for you to do number 2?
Yes.
Heck yeah, it would be. It's gonna take
Especially-
you an extra 15 minutes to do it. Right.
Right, and especially since not very many agents do.
Well, it's one thing you could go into every listing today and say, this is something I do different that makes your experience better. Okay, number 3. Tube or box with flyers and distribution of flyers in the neighborhood. Now, we talked about this on the team meeting. And I asked on the team meeting. I said, has anybody used a flyer box recently? And somebody got off mute and said, I did, and all 30 of my flyers were gone within a day. Why did we stop using flyer boxes?
Get wet. Excuse that.
Well, they sell them at Bluegrass Filters, they have a lid, I mean, it's in an encapsulated plastic box.
I used one in Harrisburg and that's the listing that I had and they were all gone.
My recommendation would be print your seller 100 copies of a flyer with a QR code that takes them to the landing page for that website, right? Command does that for you. And now what we're doing is they scan it, they go look at it online, it asks them to register to see all the photos, and what have I just created? What have I done?
Capturing.
I'm capturing leads. That's actually how we go from 1 transaction to 3. You're gonna take the same flyer, and you're gonna door knock the neighborhood. And say something simply like, hey, I'm Tara, I just listed a house around the corner. We're probably gonna have somewhere between 25 and 50 showings and multiple open houses, and what I know to be true, is only one buyer who purchased this home. And so I'm just going around and talking to all the neighbors to see if you know of anybody else that would consider selling their home. If we have a ready, willing, and able buyer that misses out on this one. What am I looking for right there?
Listen,
I'm looking for another listing. Right? You can also say, you can ask that, I would start there, it's all I want is another listing. Which then I'm going to say, and by the way, if you know of anybody that might be interesting in moving into the area, here's my business card, just reach out to me directly. What am I doing there? What am I setting myself up for? I'm gonna get both sides of that deal. That's two units. Okay, is this effective or not effective in today's market?
Effective.
Bluegrass Realtor sells flyer boxes. I gave one away in a team meeting last year and everybody laughed. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Do you remember me giving that away at a team meeting? Maybe a year and a half ago. We found one in the closet.
yeah.
Okay, number 4, flyers in the house. Oh, why I said I would print 100 flyers for the seller is because I don't want to drive out to Harrisburg 3 times to fill out my flyer box. So just go ahead and give them refills so that when they're all gone, they can stick more in their own box. You can print them at the office. We got a bulk mailer. You can put them in an envelope and ship them out to them. Here's all your flyers for your flyer box. Okay. Next one is flyers in the house, home books, and comment cards. So you're gonna put the same flyer with your QR code in the house. I think the comment card, why would we potentially want a comment card?
It might be bad.
Comment cards?
Why?
Yeah, why would we want a comment card in the house?
Because the seller certainly wants to know what people think.
Yeah, someone wants to know what people think. You may have, this shouldn't be happening, but it is still happening. You may have a buyer bump into a Zillow agent that shows them that property. And they end up having a house to sell and they call you because of your presentation. Right? Like home books, that could be a Tops in Lexington magazine, it could be that you put together a really nice packet with seller disclosure, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. But I would say, know that how you present that listing for everybody walking through could end up being another opportunity for you. Alright, so that's effective, right? Number 5 is pretty self-explanatory, MLS, right? You put it on the MLS.
What's that?
You put it on the Bluegrass Realtors. And make, you know. Next one is a web listing with a virtual tour.
Doesn't Nextdoor do the virtual tours?
They do, and they do a great job. They will do virtual tour, they will also do the floor plan, they'll also do the floor plan that moves. There's so many great options for that, but the web listing is you guys can log into your command account. And within 5 minutes, you can set up a property specific website for every listing that you take.
You can?
It's the second to the bottom applet, it's the listing applet. So if I went into the seller and I said, hey, I know there's a lot of agents, they're gonna market your property. But something that I do different is I'm actually gonna build a custom website just for your home. And it's gonna have photos and it's gonna have information, an estimated pay plan, people can calculate their commute. And I'm gonna use it to capture leads. It talks about the school districts, it has the rankings for the school districts, it has everything about your community. Would that be of value to you as a seller? That's part of your technology, guys, you already have it, it's just if we're using it or not. That was a value proposition in 1994. Is that effective today? I think it's effective today. I think you could set yourself apart from about 99% of the market by doing just the first 6 of these. Okay, number 7. House featured in a marketing vehicle. Marketing vehicle could be, like what I did is every time I took a listing, I did a social media ad. And I actually, in my listing presentation, I can show you guys this. I have an example of my sponsored ad and how many people click on it, go to my website for lead capture, and I explain to them, I'm not just gonna put this on the MLS, I'm gonna market it and capture potential buyers, we're gonna qualify them to try to find a buyer. That's what makes me different. Okay, so, whatever your marketing vehicle is. Next one is your open house program. When I reference open house program, what am I referencing? Which KW model? Anybody know?
You got me there, I have no idea.
This one you can find in the shift book.
Is it the 7 level? I think I just got that handout from Stephen today.
The level. The levels of open house.
The 7 level open house protocol.
There it is.
I don't know how to get in there. It's this.
Here, I have it right here.
7th level open, you can also find it on our website in the playbooks. But essentially, we're not gonna just say, hey, I'm gonna throw up an open house. We do things differently at Keller Williams. We have an open house program, the 7th level open house. Guys, as an agent, you should really never do less than level 5. And no, we can't see this. See how you compare. I think this is hilarious, look here. This said, Exit Realty. This is a Keller Williams model. It's hilarious, okay. Level 1, sign in the yard. Well, which by the way, that's about all most agents do. They put a writer in the for sale sign. This is sign in the yard, that's about the lowest level open house program you can do. Number 2 is sign in the yard with balloons and riders. Okay, you can also do the big flag or whatever, but we need more showcasing the open house. Number 3 is all of that. In addition, directional signs at the key corners with balloons and riders. Number 4 is we have flyers the week before. We email invites and we post it on websites. That's level 4, and level 5 is you're gonna go invite 100 neighbors at a minimum.
I did 50 with Kathy Whitpile's house.
And so,
McNair, and I actually, I did a bunch of these off of this. This last time, and I actually had more people at that open house than I've had at any of my open houses.
yeah, I mean, this model it works, right? So the next 2 levels are you get on the phone that morning and you remind people. You can get phone numbers for neighbors through programs like Land Voice or RedX. You drop your open house address, it gives you the name of 100 people around it. It scrubs the do not call list. And you can call and say, hey, this is Tara, and you're gonna say probably the same script I just told you a minute ago regarding open house. But the last one, and I did this my entire career. I learned this probably in 2009. Hold 4 other open houses in the area in various price ranges. Anytime I did an open house, I did a radius search on Blue Dress Realtors. And I found every other active listing around me, and I emailed those agents and said, hey, I'm doing an open house next Sunday. Would you like to have yours open too, so we can get more traffic? And it was very common to have 3 or 4 open in an area, which it could triple your open house activity.
Yeah, because then other people, they look at that house and then they're like, oh, well, let's go see what this one has that this one doesn't have.
Yeah, you just gotta be masterful at lead capture. They're gonna go look at all the properties, but the reality is your opportunity to get exposure with the consumer multiplies. Okay? Alright, so let's go back to, so we talked about what is your open house program, what sets you apart? I want you guys to be thinking about every time you talk to the seller about this is what makes me different. This is what makes me different, okay? Alright, the next one is email, fax, or voice broadcast. We're probably not gonna do a fax, but voice broadcast would be similar to using Land Voice. You can email this out. You can very easily email your open houses out to everybody in your database every week. You guys can do a contest every month that if people in your database visit every open house you host that they visit, they get entered into a drawing to make it fun. There's so many things you can do, but you should be telling your database that you're out in the field every time you're out in the field. Okay. Next one is track your showings and collect feedback. This is in my listing presentation. If you guys want to see it, I'll show you. You guys want to see how that's in there?
Yes. I do.
Okay. And keep in mind, I don't actively sell, so it's a little bit dated. Remember when I said I show them my ads? This is in my listing presentation. I would tell a seller, hey, every time I take a listing, I advertise it on social media. This is an example of one that I took recently. This property was in Scott County. I listed it. I listed the house. It actually sold 2 days later. We sold it. And yet I listed it for 7 days. We reached 5,350 people, and you guys can see right here, 342 people went to my website where I have a lead capture function. So I'm gonna tell the seller, I'm going to advertise, and my goal is to get people to click and contact me to see your property. This is in my listing presentation, 10 years ago almost. And so then the next one is explaining how we do lead capture. This is my CRM at the time, just like yours runs now, right? Leads come in and we contact them for qualifications. This is the slide we're on. What am I showing you guys here? What is the system? So familiar? You know what it is, Scott? We all have it.
Is that flex?
This is showing time. This is showing time. All I'm doing, okay, do we all have showing time? It's all part of our system. How many of us are communicating that value proposition to the seller? Is showing time valuable? I literally stopped at this slide with every seller and I would say, so here's the deal. As a seller, we're gonna get your house ready to sell so we can get you the best price. And the market is gonna tell us if we're on track. And my guess is every time we schedule a showing, you're gonna be chomping at the bit to learn what they wanna tell us about how the property showed. So feedback is everything. And so the way my business runs is every time someone schedules, the minute they walk out the door, I'm going to reach out to them and ask them for feedback on the showing. When I receive it, you're gonna get it copied on that, so you'll know exactly how the property showed, what they feel showed well, what do they think about the price, what we could do better. And these reports, you guys, you can send them in showing time, but that's valuable for a seller. That's something we all have. Sometimes we just need to package up what we already have as part of our value proposition, right? And by the way, I don't teach this slide in CE. I teach that advertisement slide, and I guarantee you, I've taught it to 1,000 people, probably very few.
I think you had it in the class that I was in the marketing.
Advertising, yeah. So, okay, so is tracking showings and collecting feedback valuable and pertinent in the market today? You guys talk about that with your sellers? Yeah, it's important. Okay, next one is targeted marketing. Targeted marketing could look like my social ad, because when you run an ad on social, you can target an area. Do that in Command. You guys know that in Command, when you take a listing, you can send postcards out to everybody around that property within like 5 minutes or less. You can do postcard mailers. So I just took a listing in Versailles last month. I told her, we're gonna give it a week and I'm gonna get postcards out to 100 of your neighbors to solicit the property. And it costs $20. Huge value add to her, and my postcards have the QR code for the property. So again, I'm just using that tool and promoting it in a better way. Next one is weekly seller updates. In my sales business, when I hired my admin, it helped me a ton, but I had a time block in my calendar that every Friday we checked in with every single seller. And then when I hired an executive assistant, she did that for me. And we would go look at online activity, we would look at the feedback, we would send that out to them, we would talk about what's going on with the market, what had sold around them, and any open house updates. We did that every single week as a service to our sellers. Do you think they want to know what's happening?
Every day.
Every day. They don't hear from us for 3 or 4 weeks. What do they think is happening?
They think you ghosted them.
They think nothing is happening. So the thing I'll say about all of this is we say, this is the plan. Here's what's gonna happen next. Then when you do it, you say, hey, remember when I said I was gonna do the postcards? Those just went out. I said I was gonna do it and I did, and here's what happens next. So they always know that you're working. We're always working, right? We're always working and doing things. But I think when we don't communicate that to them, they think we're doing nothing. So it feels like you're just reselling your value every step of the way. It feels like that, but it's important for them to know. Because about halfway through the process, they're gonna bump into somebody that says, how's your house sale going? We wanna sell ours, and they're gonna go, oh my God, my agent has been incredible. They have 14 things they do, and they've walked me through every step of the process. You should call them. That's the level of experience you wanna have, right? Okay, next one is property caravans. Guys, we used to do this. I mean,
I would love to do one.
you guys,
You are the second person that has mentioned.
I mean, your coaching program should do that. You guys go out on a Friday. Pick 5 houses you wanna go preview in Hamburg, and y'all drive around and look at them. You can go into showing time instead of an agent preview. I mean, the reality is, we used to, when I got into the industry, I'm near 18 now, but when I got in, every week, at the end of our weekly sales meeting, we would take a group of people out, and we would walk through our agents' listings, and we would preview properties as a company and give feedback.
Okay, I will talk to Steve because I would really like to do that, and I think it would.
Maybe every Tuesday after team meeting, you all go out and do 2 or 3 previews, and that's part of Ignite. Like, part of Ignite is there's a certain number of properties you're previewing every week. And that gives you market knowledge. It also allows you to talk to buyers and sellers and say, hey, I was just in a property over here in Hamburg, they have beautiful hardwood floor, like, you can speak to the inventory, which you wouldn't know if you're not out previewing. So even if you don't have a client, you should be previewing inventory.
I did preview a property my husband and I were talking about, because there was a piece of land that came up in Richmond. Let's go look at it.
Yeah, might be something for yourself. Okay, the last one is creative marketing ideas, and in this, this could be like. You sell, okay, so I'm a mass coach, I coach brokerage owners, or brokerage leadership now, but I've coached agents for years. And anytime we got behind on our goal for the year, we would do some sort of incentive. Meaning, hey, if you list your house with me in the month of July, we're actually going to give you a free home warranty with your listing. Or, hey, I've got a stager, we're gonna do a free staging consultation. So these are pluses. It could also be that you offer. I'm not a big fan of like buyer agent bonuses. But you could do that. Rector Hayden, I worked at Rector Hayden for almost 10 years. They used to do a contest called, well, I don't know what it is. But basically the seller could put $50 or $100 on the listing, and they gave away $10,000 once a quarter. And I won that once. I won the $10,000 once. So if I was out in the market showing property, and I knew that the Rector Hayden listing was gonna put me in a $10,000 drawing, and it was close for my buyer. As an agent, I was gonna try to get them to buy that property.
Sure.
I mean, Ball Homes does their Key Club, I mean.
How did they come up with the $10,000 again? How'd that work?
What they used to do, I can't remember what it was called, so close to my brain too. They may still do it, but essentially when you listed the property, the seller could pay an additional fee to have their home in the drawing thing. And all they did was they pooled the money from all those listings, and that created the prize. And they did a really nice breakfast. So any agent that sold one of their listings in that prize group got to go to the breakfast and be part of the giveaway. And they just did a drawing, like, we started with maybe 50 people, and they would line everybody up in the front of the room, and if they called your number, you had to sit down. And the last person standing got the 10 grand. But that's an example of a contest incentive. We don't see those as much anymore because the market's hot, but it could be that if they, I mean, we see things like incentives, right? You could offer there's regulations around what you could offer, but you definitely. Well, everybody who lists their house with me gets entered into a drawing, or, we're gonna offer the buyer's agent 0.5% more, like, it's just incentives, thinking about. I would think about. Where the property is and what the demographic is, so like, for example. You could list a property and say, if you buy this home, the seller's gonna give you a 1-year membership to the YMCA. It's just a bonus, right? It's a marketing strategy, right? Same thing with rate buy downs. We used to do those a couple years ago, like sellers would offer a rate buy down. That's just a marketing incentive, right?
That would use like $1,500.
Yeah,
And it's an easy sell.
yeah.
Sell the value.
Yeah, we're gonna offer a rate buyout. So. Guys, we just went through the 14. You could probably do 5 more, but the reality is, this should be your basic strategy for every seller that you work with. And I promise you, if you do these things or offer them, more sellers will list with you than your competition. Right? So I'll say this here, and this is the quote at the bottom. The only real difference between agents is that some list houses and others market them. So the question for you guys is, are you a listing agent? Do you just take listings and throw them on the MLS? Or do you market your listings and prospect for more business? And that's the Keller Williams way, right? So I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts, feedback? Like, what would you add? Was this valuable?
I made several notes, so I think it's absolutely valuable.
And again, you could probably just make a copy of this page and hand it to every seller and say, this is what I want to do.
I actually pulled it and put it into my Canva.
Yeah,
Presentation, the book that I'm working on.
yeah, so again, don't overcomplicate the delivery, just decide what yours is gonna be and start speaking to that value. What else? You gonna start doing this?
I'm definitely gonna talk to Stephen about fitting in a caravan indoor,
Yeah,
because I think that would help at least some of us newer agents to know what they're looking at.
well, and here's the thing about that from this perspective. If you took a listing and you said, hey, Mr. Seller, you know, the cool thing about my company is we're the #1 company in Central Kentucky. And what I'm going to do is when I leave here today, I'm gonna get the property ready to market. But in a week, I'm gonna bring 5 agents from my office with me to preview it and give me feedback on if we have this priced correctly and anything they see. That could be your coaching program. But like, is that valuable to a seller? Similar to a broker open, except it costs you nothing. Just
Well, that
sell
and
there.
every single agent is gonna see something different.
Especially if you can't get them priced correctly. Or if they just, you know, sometimes they're just fearful, and the reality is, it's like 80 to 90% of sellers work with the first agent they meet. So having 4 or 5 more come in and preview it is gonna give you more validity that you're on the right track. So what are our action items or questions or anything?
You do all of the 14 points every listing.
No, because reality is it might sell in 2 days.
Yeah.
But I would present this as your value proposition. And okay, so for example, the listing I took last month, she wanted to know all the things I do. And I told her all the things I do, and we sold that. I've done 2 of them, you know? The goal would be to price it to sell, but the reality is they just wanna know you have a plan. If you price it right in this market, it's gonna sell after a couple of these, but if it doesn't, they know what you're gonna do next. So you could even put timelines, like, if it doesn't sell by here, then we're gonna start step number 2. And if it doesn't sell by there, we're gonna start step number 3. So they don't think, you don't necessarily have to do all 14 out of the gate, but it's kind of like a sexy value proposition when you come in and you lay that in front of them. Say, sure, all
That
the
one said,
yeah, same thing with warranties, like, we have so many agents that don't sell the warranty. I sold a warranty with almost 100% of the properties I sold. I made $50, which I liked, but the reality was, it was a service that I could say, hey. You know, if you're worried about the age of your HVAC, let's go ahead and put the warranty on it. And they're like, you guys have warranties? Well, yeah, of course, we've got an amazing warranty company. Here's how it works. Here's what it provides for you. It's just another layer of service that you provide, which is why I'm always like, why are agents not selling
I
warranties?
did that
Yeah,
first house I sold because they had a older furnace.
yeah,
And
Peace of
so
mind.
that's how it closed.
I sold a warranty yesterday to close one in inspections. But like, that should be in your list of like, I have this amazing service and it's gonna cover you while you're listed. You know, the warranty covers the seller while they're listed, and if it never sells, they never pay that premium. So that's an easy, like, when you list with me, here's what that's gonna look like. It's gonna cover everything. You know how many sellers have had to have their water heater replaced while their house was on the market? I've had 10 in my career. But the warranty paid for it because I sold the warranty and they were like, this is amazing. They're gonna cover this. Yes, they are. So then I look like a hero. And all I'm doing is selling a service that is part of my value proposition. So you use all your tools because that's value. Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, I think they help a lot with. Actually, a warranty on a listing will absolutely impact repair negotiations. I could say probably 100% of the time. Because if they start asking for little things, you say, hey, seller's not gonna cover that because they're already providing the buyer with $500 warranty.
I
Most of them
actually did
are
that.
okay with that. Yeah.
I got my buyers to ask for a warranty on the house, instead of asking for all of the repairs.
Yeah. And you know what?
They were all little
offering it.
repairs.
Yeah, they love you for offering it. They're like, what? I have a 1-year warranty? So. Anyway. Was this helpful?
Yeah.
Go be an amazing KW agent so we can grow. When you guys do this, we attract a lot of great agents to our company too, which helps us all.
I do have to laugh. I'll have to show you this. I went online. And I was looking at. The 14-step marketing plan. And it was showing you how to set it up in your. Packet. And I did have to laugh because it's a little bit dated. We will list your house on the World Wide Web.
World Wide Web, I know. I laugh too, cause I go, yeah, that, we're not sending a fax, but like.
And it says something about pagers and text, not and fax.